Mr. Dexter's.
I love that voice. It's so good.
Good morning, Mr. Dexter's. Look at that smile. Oh, and here he comes.
Oh, and Sam is jealous.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, buddy.
Oh,
What are you
If
doing?
you don't know that voice, it's
then
Dexter
you're
and
not on the
Daragh.
internet. Yep.
Dexter. Oh my gosh. Every time I say Dexter and Daragh, it starts being a tongue twister. Dexter Daragh, and Samwise,
And
the
Mr.
balancing
Samwise.
man.
Welcome.
One of the balancing man. Samwise, we're still working on it. But yeah, thank you for having me. This is exciting. I loved season 1. And I know like initially we talked about me possibly being on this podcast. And so when I got like the official invite, I was ecstatic because I've talked to both of y'all like
So funny.
throughout the years. I mean, this dog community, especially on social media, I feel like can be so close knit. And so like I've gotten to know a lot of people in this community, and y'all are 2 of my favorites. So this is truly an honor
That's so
to be
nice.
here.
Daragh, shut up. You're going to make me blush. Oh my God, I can't handle it. Well,
I'm
ever
serious.
since I made Lumi's account, this is no lie, back in 2022, I actually first found your account not even on Instagram, but from America's Got Talent.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't
That's
know
how
that.
I found him. Yeah, he was.
Oh.
I literally saw him. Oh my God. Well, because my family, we used to watch it, and then I just continued to watch it on my own with like my friends because I was like, I can't give up this tradition. And I literally saw he balanced Oreo cookies on his head during like his TV time, and I remember thinking, oh my God, this is the best boy. It was before I really got into social media. We just have to talk about that entire process because that's how I followed you and found you.
That to me has been the most surreal thing about the social media journey, if I want to call it that, is that if you would have asked me, you know, I feel a lot of us started around 2020, right when COVID hit and quarantine. But if you would have asked me back then, hey, one day you'll be getting invited to go like on the Tonight Show of Jimmy Fallon or on America's Got Talent, I would have called you crazy. And I also, to this day, it still feels surreal. And to like know that people have found us through that, and to know that I have people who have recognized me. That's the weirdest thing, is they're like, you were on those shows. I was like, well, I'm there because of him. Like, I'm not talented.
You're not balancing things on your head.
No.
You can't do shit.
I am just literally placing things on his head. So yeah, that to me also, like, what's surreal about all of that was I was so nervous before the first TV appearance. So like one thing I want to always clear up is like after the Tonight Show, because that was our first TV appearance, I had so many people tell me like, oh, I could have never done that, or I would have been so nervous. And I tell them, oh, I was a nervous wreck. Like I drove 27 hours to New York. I live in Denver, so it was a 27-hour trip. And I was listening to audiobooks on public speaking, how to deal with anxiety. I was a wreck because, you know, and I like to tell that part before I like jump into things, because a lot of people just assume, oh, you're a natural at it, or like you can just do it. Like, good for you. Like, you must be, I don't know what they assume, but the fact is that I was nervous. I was, you know, even when I was at 30 Rock, I was like in the dressing room, like, all right, there,
like
keep it together.
Super surreal.
Yeah,
Surreal to see
the whole
it in
thing.
person. Yeah,
the whole thing, because yeah. So the Tonight Show, I think it's an amusing story, but I thought I was getting scammed at first, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, did you just like get an email and it was like, yo, come down to the city?
Yeah, so that was our first TV show appearance, and before that, we had been talking to another TV show that ultimately I decided to pull the plug right before we were gonna film it, and that's a whole another story. The long story short of that was, I wasn't totally comfortable with the direction that they possibly were going to have us go. And then like 3 weeks later, I get a random email from a production assistant from the Tonight Show saying, hey, Jimmy Fallon saw your videos. He loves them. Would you be interested in being on the Tonight Show? And of course you say yes to that. Like, I know, I'm not going to be like, well, let me, I was like, wait, the Tonight Show. And so I was like, sure, like expecting it to be a month, like few month long process, just like the last one. And then, so on Wednesday, I told them yes, just to, a production assistant. And then Friday, the same production assistant emailed me around lunchtime and was like, hey, we got the green light. Can you be here on Monday? And I was like, oh, I've never flown with Dexter before. He's 100-pound lab. He's not like a dog you can just, comfortably get. He's a big dog. And so I didn't want to risk him being put into cargo. I didn't want to risk him being uncomfortable on the plane. So that's when I just got in the car and just drove to New York. Part of the reason I thought I was getting scared. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, do they pay for you to do that? And also,
oh yeah,
do they pay for you to be on the show?
Yeah, great question. So it was all expenses paid. So like they offered to fly us out, obviously, because they were like, hey, Friday, they told us you're on the show. Can you be here Monday? We'll fly you out, Sunday. And that's when I was like, I've never flown with them before. Can I drive? And they were like, yeah, we'll reimburse hotels, expenses, everything. And then you do, and this is part, it's a great question because this is also part of why I thought I was being scammed is because when you're on TV, you have to fill out all this paperwork for the Screen Actors Guild for like the union kind of rates.
That's what I figured, but I didn't know if it worked like that for like an appearance like that. But I guess anytime you're speaking on a show, you have to be a part of that.
You have to, exactly. So on the way there, it's a long drive and I've got the production assistant basically like begging me to fill out all this paperwork for the Screen Actors Guild, which includes your social security number, bank account information. And I'm just like, this is odd. Like, can't I just get to, 30 Rock and hand this in? And she goes, no, we need it before midnight on Sunday. I also came to find out that that's how all these appearances go on these like late night TV shows is they give you 5 days notice and they just like fly you out.
That happened with me. The same.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to fly anywhere. It was all the appearances were in New York. But the same thing happened to me where it was always like a couple of days in advance. Like, oh, we're big fans. We love your video. We want you to come on the show. Can you come on the show in 48 hours? And, I'm not like your situation where you drove over 24 hours. But I definitely was like, well, I got to take a day off from work. I got to clear my schedule and go from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. Like, it's crazy. It's a crazy business.
Yeah, I guess it's because social media happens so fast that they find you guys, they like you guys, and they don't want that excitement and trend to go away. Like at both of your times, I guess you were like popping off with Dexter bouncing and Lumi in the backpack. So they were, obviously you guys are both still doing that now, but they wanted to be the first to hit the story, I feel like, because otherwise it makes no sense why it would be that quick, because celebrities for sure have that booked out months in advance.
That's a really good point. Because I also, and what kind of fed into, or what kind of supports that was well, I'm getting real personal on this podcast, but I like kind of dated a girl that worked for the Kelly Clarkson show out in LA. And I asked, I mean, I love Kelly Clarkson.
She's
girl
great.
was cool.
That's a flex.
But she told me that there would be no chance, not that I like asked, but like she told me that there's not a chance that me and Dexter would be featured on the Kelly Clarkson show or any of those other late night shows, because once a late night show kind of gets you, like once you're on, the Tonight Show, you're kind of off limits for a lot of other kind of late night shows. So to your point, like that, like I was, because I thought, hey, cool, I could maybe be on the, Kelly Clarkson show as well. But so that kind of supports what you're saying, that they want to jump on it and make it happen quickly so that other, but anyway, so it all worked out. We were in New York and then, got the 30 Rock. I walked in with Dexter fully expecting the security to look at me and be like, are you high? Like, why are you here with your dog? Like, why do you think you can be on the Tonight Show by just walking in? But he was like, oh yeah, Daragh, Dexter, let's, get you upstairs. Let's do all this. We were there for 6 hours. A lot of people don't
my
realize how much
gosh.
time you
Yeah.
spend on. Yeah, it's a whole day. Like our appearance, I think, was 3 minutes. And then we met Jimmy, and like, I don't know if you all remember this, but like, I think it was a year after we did the Tonight Show, there was all that bad press coming out about Jimmy Fallon.
About
You
being like
remember
an alcoholic and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be your typical like influencer and make a video about it. So this is my platform to talk about it. He was the nicest guy in the world. Like I, you know, I worked at a bar for 4 years. I'm Irish. I've been around alcohol my whole life. He wasn't drunk when I met him. He was the sweetest guy. He spent 15 minutes with us, like out of his day to just like talk to us. So if anyone who is hating on Jimmy Fallon is watching this podcast, don't listen to what people say. He was the sweetest guy in the world.
Yeah, it's all gossip. It's all news, except for Ellen DeGeneres. I actually heard she sucks. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, Ellen.
That one I can believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jimmy, I wanted to clear that up because like, I don't know. As I said, I saw all the videos coming out, people talking, and I just thought this is silly. As someone who actually met the guy, like he was the nicest person in the world. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it just like became one of those moments that I'll always remember. And I always like to bring it back that it's because of the relationship I have with my dog. Like I got to travel to New York. I got to have this cool experience, like all expenses paid to be on a TV show that I would have never had, all because I like doing goofy stuff with my dog and filming it and trying to, I guess, make people laugh or smile. And I mean, that to me, I'm sure both of y'all can relate. Like, there's no amount of money or no amount of, if you want to call it internet fame, that can equal just like how much enjoyment we have by just being with our dogs and just like making people smile. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Fucking tweet. Seriously.
Yeah, literally. But what I think is interesting is, well, you guys have both been on shows, which is really cool, but you both also have completely different niches and fan base, which is what I've always wanted to ask you, because you and I've talked for a long time, and of course we have like the dog community relationship like in common to some extent, but I feel like you have such a different human fan base than us. Like, and that goes to the fact that you got on Jimmy Fallon. Like, you have people watching your stuff that it's like, of course it's cute and sweet, but you don't have like that, aw, cute dog and girl. Like, one, you're a guy running the account, but also Dexter is just like, with the crimes and the balancing, it just reaches a different type of person, I feel like. And
like
I just want to know, and yeah, so your fans are super cool. What would you describe them? Like, what's the common theme among your fans and followers, and like maybe the messages you get? Because I feel like Jackie and I have similar messages where we get like, I love watching your adventures, and Chili's the cutest, and Lumi's so cute, and it's more like sweet. And I feel like Dexter was like, you're the man.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting observation. I totally agree with, because I think at the end of the day, and I know once again a lot of people who are creators can agree with this, you need to lean into your niche or lean into what you find interesting, because it's so often you'll see an account make a video and you're just like, that's not your style or that's not your personality. I mean, you learn. Like, I'm sure there's videos that we've made where I just know people watched and were like, that's not really you. But like a lot of those crime videos, or a lot of like these like silly balancing videos, or even like stitches that we've done with other creators that may be a little like risque at times. I know that it resonates with how I am. It's just, I'm a goof. Like, I know I'm a goofy person. I've always been a goofy person. And so when it came to creating content with Dexter and now Sam, it made sense for me to just do more things that I found a little outside the norm, or that people didn't enjoy. The crime videos, they kind of came out from I saw like one account do it as far as like, hey, my dog, stole something, and it just had like a video of the dog, right? Like just like a dog sitting in a kitchen, just, oh, cool, like your dog stole something. And I thought, okay, well, I can actually have Dexter steal things, or I can have like Dexter like video shop him into committing arson, or he's a very clever dog. He knows like 20 different commands, and so that really helped with the videos where he's stalking someone or like sitting outside a window or wearing like a burglar's mask. And it kind of goes with that whole niche leaning into it kind of concept, which is if you think you can either like do something better or do something that someone hasn't done before, then do it and just like see what works. And I think that when we did those crime videos, you're so used to seeing a lot of dog accounts be like, oh, look how cute my dog is. Or, if it's a simple talent or like, let's spread smiles, like, yeah, there's a time and place for that. But then you see a yellow lab like setting fire to a building, you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna stop for a second and go, what's going on here? So I think that's really what got us that fan base and got us a lot of those viral moments. I mean, I remember when we did like really leaned into the crime thing. We did like a whole week of crimes, and we were getting 10,000 followers a day on Instagram at times.
I remember.
Just because it was,
I
that's
remember
probably,
when you started the crime stuff. We've been following each other like since the beginning.
Oh yeah, I think you're like the fifth person I ever followed. Like when I started Dexter's account.
No, I know. When I look sometimes, like I'll go back to see like all you can filter to latest or most recent on Instagram, and I have like the top 20 people, and all the people that I still talk to are still on there. It's crazy. Based off what we've talked about, I had asked you questions about brand deals early on. Like I used to be brand deals, I'm not doing it. I've talked about it before. I thought that it was like a sellout type thing, which is obviously not the case, but I was making a lot of money on Instagram Reels and doing Derpy Danis full time. So I was like, I'm not going to be the person to sell people things. And then when Instagram Reels bonuses like stopped for a while, I was kind of scrambling and being like, oh, I guess I'll try brand deals, because people were reaching out to us. And I was asking you questions because you were doing them, like the only person genuinely that I was seeing at the time that was doing it authentically and not being like, here's my dog's food, he loves it. And I was like, I'm not doing that shit. And so I asked you questions about it. And then obviously here we are all still doing it 2 or 3 years later. But I'm pretty sure that you went back to work. So you were doing content creation full time, and then you went back to work. So what was that decision like? And do you like that, or is it like fulfilling you in a different way? Because literally just last episode, Jackie and I were talking about the pros and cons of social media, and us doing it full time right now, it can be a lot. And we're by ourselves most of the time, and we really just have each other to rely on. So what was it like for you?
Yeah, I quit my job, and for 2.5 years, I exclusively did the social media, brand deals, but also that was when TikTok was paying us a decent amount per month. Instagram, when the bonuses first came out, which, I mean, I'm transparent with a lot of stuff. There were a lot of months where all my bills were being paid because of just the native bonuses you would get through the apps. So outside of brand deals, we were getting paid from TikTok and Instagram that just covered all our bills. And then the brand deals is, just from my experience, that was the bigger slice of the pie when it came to the total dollars that comes in. And I graduated college with a master's degree in finance and economics. So like the finance side of things has always come very natural to me. But I also enjoyed that because I was able to like realistically look at, well, if I quit my job and I do this full time, I should be fine. Like it will give me more time to travel. I couldn't have imagined doing the thing like the Tonight Show at short notice and giving my company, 2 days notice saying I won't be in work next week. And so it was a easy decision at first, but then I think what a lot of people are starting to realize is that there's this facade of working for yourself when you're getting into social media and doing brand deals or just being reliant on these apps paying you, because I think we've all learned in many hard ways that at the flip of a switch, these algorithms can change. I'm just gonna tell it all. So the turning point was I had a great
Let her out,
relationship.
buddy.
Yeah,
Let her out.
I had a great relationship with a pretty big brand, and we had made.
Oh, I thought you were
something
gonna
like,
say a different girl. I was like, you're telling us
no,
all
no,
about
no.
your relationships? Wow.
No, the Kelly
We're in
Clarkson
for a
thing.
treat.
That's just that's as far as I'll go there. And well, maybe some of the messages we receive, which is bananas.
From
but-
girls?
Oh, it's weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta hear about that.
Yeah. We'll get back to that.
We may come back. Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll circle back.
No, so like I had a great relationship with this one brand. We had made like 20 plus videos, and then I remember vividly like trying to negotiate our next deal. So I never believed in management in the influencer sense up until recently, which I'll get back to that, I promise. But like at the time, I was doing this all myself. I enjoyed negotiating. I enjoyed talking to the brand directly about what they would want. It was, part of working for yourself, and also me doing a full time was I had no problem doing all that. They had told us that they wanted us to sign an exclusive deal for the rest of the year. And it was a 12 video package, and they were going to pay us $72,000.
What the fuck? That's crazy.
That's a salary, and I would use it. That is, I don't even know. I just broke out in song. I haven't heard that. That's crazy.
I have never heard that ever before.
I literally cried because I was like tears of happy because up until that point, we had gotten some really good deals, and things were going really well. I was not slumming it. But then when that happened, it was not only security for the rest of the year, but it was also like a moment where I had felt very accomplished. And I say that I didn't want to, I'm not saying that to be cocky, but it was one of those things where you see those numbers in an email, you talk to the person who's been your main contact with this brand for years, literally years, and you see in an email, hey, we agree to those terms. And you just kind of think to yourself, wow, this is insane. You do.
Well, stick a greenie up my ass and call me a poodle. I'm on board.
Until 2 weeks before it goes live, they take it away.
No, I did not expect that, actually.
So that was the turning point. You asked what the turning point was when I was like, I don't know if I want to do this full time anymore. That was it. And it was...
Okay, now actually stick a greenie up my ass.
I'm going to cry. That's so sad.
No, I don't want to feel the pain
anymore.
But
here's the thing, though, is that even when that happened, we had we had filmed America's Got Talent earlier that year, and our episode hadn't premiered yet. And even at that point, I wasn't even 100% sure it was going to premiere, because that was a whole different story with America's Got Talent. Unlike the Tonight Show, where you film and then that night it comes out. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, cool, it's live, whatever. The America's Got Talent, a third of the people that get on that stage and perform for the judges, a third only get airtime. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I wasn't even 100% sure if our America's Got Talent episode was going to air, but I was hopeful. So even when the brand told us, hey, we're not going to do this large offer, they told us that they would just pay for 3 videos at a reduced rate. So they were still going to pay us, $15,000, which is, trust me, it's a lot of money. But I had still been very hopeful that, our America's Got Talent episode is about to air. When we did the Tonight Show, we had just an influx of offers from brands wanting to work together because they saw the Tonight Show. So that helped soften the blow, but it was one of those turning points where that whole idea that you're either working for yourself or that you're on the right track someone can still just go, no, like we don't want to pay you that amount, and they don't have to give you a reason. That was like the most difficult part with working with brands, is that just at a drop of a hat, they can just go, if you don't have a signed contract, if you just have something verbal. And so that, it kind of like a few months after that, I kept, getting new deals, but then I eventually just thought I could not handle expecting that amount of money only for it to be pulled out from underneath us. Like, I kind of knew I needed something more secure, which is what obviously a day job does. And I'm sure y'all can, it's not just, here's the best way for me to describe it. When you have a steady job or a 9 to 5, your like track is like this. It's very steady. But when you're doing something yourself, whether it's social media or working for yourself, it's like this.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And,
I know it.
yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying. And
Oh yeah.
the only difference I can say, which is like very small in the grand scheme of things, it's not like this is the only thing saving me, because it's not. But since we both have agents, our agents definitely shield us from a lot of that stuff, because when I was doing I even took a negotiating course, like I forget how long it was, like 10 weeks or something, because I was trying to do it on my own. I was like, I don't want to give away 20%. That's stupid. And I would get really upset. Like, I would hyper focus on the things that I said to the person, like, oh, maybe I should have said this and then I would have gotten it. Or, oh, shoot, well, I heard this other person got paid this much and I'm only getting paid this much. And that was really bad for me. And so I love my agent and he's really helpful. But another step of that is that if he's in the works of talking to somebody, he might mention, like, would you want to work with this company? Have you tried this company before? But he won't give me any details until he literally gets approval that this is the amount we're getting. He is getting a contract that day, which sometimes I'm like, why aren't you telling me? But
Yeah.
I think I would be more upset if I knew about the thing, like if it was freaking Target and they're paying
And then
me
it fell through.
80 grand and then they said no the day before, I would be heartbroken. And then I'd be like, fuck Target.
After, a couple brand deals just, either didn't go according to plan or whatever, I just realized that I could still get back into having my 9 to 5 job, which I did enjoy. Like, it wasn't one of those jobs that took 60 hours a week to do. And that's when I also had been talking to a few agents and management groups, and I decided, well, I'll get back into my 9 to 5 and I'll sign with this agency just to kind of like still do brand deals on the side, which, we
but
have
not have the stress of doing it all yourself.
Yeah.
Which we have.
I know, I saw
that.
So cool.
Yeah.
I want,
and that's because of the brand deal. So
I want some. If you're not watching, if you're just listening, Daragh and Dexter are teaming up with what's the bakery called? Wolfgang Bakery.
Yep.
And they have their own little treat line, and it's Dexter's face balancing little donuts, and it's so freaking cute. So go get those.
Awesome.
They're really, that's adorable. But we're so happy for you, because honestly, to quit your 9 to 5 and then do influencing just as a job solely for a while, then go back to a 9 to 5 with doing influencing on the side, like that takes guts and a lot of just patience and willpower. So good for fucking you. And I
will say though, the last thing I'll say for my own mental health, which I feel like, social media definitely takes its toll on all of our mental health, whether positive or negative.
Yeah.
Having the 9 to 5 and not just relying on social media for like financial reasons has been, I'm in a much, like, my headspace is so much better. Like,
I'm sure
it's tough doing social media full time.
Literally me right now. I was talking to Galen a couple days ago and I was like, I don't know if I'm okay right now. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I feel like we talk about it all the time, but anyway, it's a whole rabbit hole we could go down. We kind of did go down it, but anyway, thank you for being open about that. And another thing that we're circling back to is the messages and comments you get from girls.
Yes.
Yeah. That,
please tell.
Honestly, though, I'm really sorry. They're probably so creepy, but it honestly makes me feel so much better because I get an influx of the weirdest things ever. Somebody just yesterday said that they want to suck farts out of my butt. So
I feel like you may take the cake with that one. No pun intended, but like
but
that.
I still like that. Like Chris and Nala said that he also gets weird things too. I'm like, at least it's not just the females. Like, at least you guys are getting it too.
Yeah, can you give some examples?
So a lot of ours are from the 40 to 50-year-old mom demographic.
Damn.
You are pulling those sugar mamas down.
I like at first I think there's like you go through phases with this, right? Like I've been making content now for 5 years, and at first it was just so alarming because you wouldn't expect people to be that blunt about their wishes or desires, or be that,
Oh my God.
Sorry,
shameless.
the way you're dancing around this is so amazing. I love watching
Yeah.
you like do a little Irish dance, if you will, around these
an Irish
comments.
jig.
Yeah.
Yeah. The worst I would say is like whenever we would announce that we're going somewhere, like when we were driving out to LA, I can't tell you the amount of messages that were just like, hey, I'm in LA, like, what are you doing this night? And then like there would be a photo, like they'd be treating it like Snapchat, or like, oh, what are you like? Are you single? And then sometimes I'd respond, sometimes I wouldn't, and it would just be like, I think the most. Oh, Sam's.
You get it out. Get it out.
I mean, there's been a lot of women who have just like flat out said, like, I find you really attractive. You're so hot. Like, give me 30 minutes of your time. And that to me has been
in the bedroom or on call.
No, Galen, in the fucking attic. Probably in the bedroom.
Yeah. Like more like they usually send pictures along with it, or
Always be thirsty on Dexter's account.
Yeah, they're very visual fans. Galen's very auditory.
Well, here's the weird thing to me. I mean, all of this is weird, but the weirdest thing is that like they're seeing Dexter's account talk to them, like you're talking to a dog, like
who's balancing Oreos on his head.
Yeah, like I think it'll be less weird if you like message me. No, I'm not putting that out there. But like if you message my personal account and you saw my face talking to you rather than like Dexter's goofy tongue out smile, like responding to some illicit things, like, and that's why I don't know if y'all have done this. I don't respond to that many messages these days. They kind of go into a separate folder, but it is still just alarming. Even some of the comments or the emails we'll get when they track down our email, and that's when they start trying to open up a conversation. That's when it gets a little
out of hand.
Like, yeah.
I can safely say I don't get a lot of those. I don't know what you have to do to qualify for those messages. Not that I want to. I really don't. So if you have any ideas, don't even fucking
Maybe it's because we're Irish.
But
maybe it's because we're Irish.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just the demographic that you're saying sends you those messages. Like, that's what's so surprising, because like 40 and 50-year-old moms.
Yeah.
And they're looking at Dexter balancing a fucking pizza, and they're like, oh, that gets me off. Wow, I couldn't imagine a more perfect partner. Like, that is just what?
And you're not even in his videos often. Like, you are, yes.
That's what.
But no.
That's what's crazy to me, is that like the account is definitely Dexter and Sam, and then like occasionally featuring me. But I think it's just, here's another part of it that like I do recognize, is that especially the 25 to 30-year-old demographic, I'm 33, and I think that younger demographic, they see like the social media success of like how many followers you have, and they think that equates to either financial success or some sort of measure of and so like I've definitely been on dates that have either been set up like by friends or through the dating apps, where I knew immediately that the chick was like more there for the social media clout, and I'm just like, I'm a dog account, I film my dogs, like this isn't the same thing. You're not.
Lady, chill. Lady, sit down.
It's I've had a couple dates like that, and it's a whole new. I'm worried for the younger generation. I'll leave it at that.
That should be like in your bio. I'm worried for the younger generation, Dexter.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we know what Dexter's fan base is consists of, we'll go back to the beginning. And you started out with him balancing. It's in your handle. And what ignited that? What was the first thing you put on his head? And were you like, wow, this dude can balance some shit?
Yeah, how do you teach a dog that?
Yeah, it's so not as exciting maybe as some people would expect, but like I taught Dexter a lot of the basics. And then I remember I was bored in my kitchen one day. This is like years before I even made a social media account for him. And I was eating baby carrots and guacamole. I was just literally like standing in my kitchen, and he wasn't begging. He was like kind of, 10 feet away from me. And he was just like, staring at me. And I just thought, I've seen some dogs like put treats on their nose and then like flip it and eat it. And I just walked over, and I kid you not, I just had the baby carrot and I just plopped it on his nose. He didn't move. He just like stared at me. And I thought, oh, this is, I thought he was going to bite it. I thought maybe he thought he was going to need to do like a trick to get it. And it went from there. I mean, he literally balanced the baby carrot, and then I moved to dog treats. And I think what really helped is that he is so food motivated that he knew just like instinctively that if he balanced it on his nose, that he was going to be able to eat it as a treat.
Mhm.
Like he didn't have to beg for it. He didn't have to try to grab it. He just like knew, just because I trained him, using that kind of like reinforcement technique for all of his other commands and tricks. I think he just knew like, well, if I do what this, dumb human wants me to do and just stay still. And so that's when I associated a word with it, which is still. And then, okay, man, he could flip it. And I mean, like, I went from baby carrots to, sandwiches. And then, I mean, to be able to do like an entire pizza and stacking Oreos and all these other crazy
Jenga.
things, and the Jenga, all of that just came from him knowing if I stay still, I'll be able to have a treat at some point. And of course, the other question we get asked is, does Dexter eat everything that he balances? And of course, no. Like, I'm not going to feed my dog Oreos,
Yeah,
or
what?
I'm not going to feed him like, any of these other things.
A
It's
tuna
like
melt sandwich. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? He's a fucking dog.
he's a dog. He's
stuffed
not going to be
animal.
drinking
He-
wine,
He
Yeah,
eats
the
yeah,
stuffed
he
animal.
eats the entire Jenga set afterwards. It's his
Yeah.
reward.
But that's probably the biggest comment we get is like, I can't believe you're feeding this to your dog. And I go, where in the video
I
did
know.
he eat what he
I've seen-
balances? Like
When you and I did that collab with the Snickers bar.
Snickers.
Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah.
you're also, that was at the time period when I wasn't replying to anybody ever, unless it was something nice, and even then, not really. And I was like, damn, you're really like letting them have it, but they're being stupid. And I was like, I need to be better. Tell people to shut the fuck up.
And then like, of course, they come back and they have like a whole, like my favorite was I did a video where like I stitched something with like a fire department, right? And the guy thought that I was the fire department making the video of these like firefighters dancing or something at a fire station. And so he just went into this tirade about like, why are these firefighters so out of shape, and like, why are they dancing? And I like he literally had like paragraphs. And I just said, this is a dog account, right? Like, I'm not this official fire station. I'm not these people in the video. Like, you're making an argument with a dog that like I put Dexter at the end of the video.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes them just like, I hope it kind of makes them go, why did I just spend all this energy and like hate on something that like the person that I'm trying to respond to isn't even the person in question? And it's all a little ridiculous. I think we've all had those comments.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And with the balancing, I can definitely see people just either not watching the full video or just not understanding that you're not feeding your dog a fucking Jenga set, which it's like, how much of a brick do you have to be to realize that a dog can't eat a Jenga and shouldn't eat a Jenga set. Just, don't ever do that. I don't know. Like people, the internet is a crazy place, but it's also a great place. And I know that I've seen comments on your posts that people, they just like wait to see what Dexter balances next. And even though for you, it might just be like, I placed a baby carrot on his nose and he just freaking did it. But to other people, it's like, oh my God, like, look at this dog just bouncing a pizza pie or like, a guacamole bowl. Like, just, it's so funny. And I think it makes people's day. I also think people are just like, oh, my dog could never do that. And I think that's also the lore of it is like my dog, like Lumi never in a million fucking years could balance a dust bunny on his head. Meanwhile, your dog is doing like a whole sushi bar. So
and he's seems happy about it. Like Chili, I bet he could do it, but he's gonna be giving me major sass. He's gonna not talk to me for the rest of the day. We're not gonna have a very good relationship anymore. So
and well, that's the crazy thing with the TV shows, which is like the best thing to kind of wrap that up is he's so happy on those TV shows and his tail is wagging. If you watch like America's Got Talent or The Tonight Show, he's like happy. And I think he feeds off that like positive energy of like us doing something together. Like that's what it always like. He's, this is my human, I'm his dog. Let's do some silly things. And I think that's what makes him such a good sport throughout all of, the videos we make.
It's like very enriching for his brain. He's like training and working and thinking, and dogs love to do that. Like that is something that every dog I feel like requires,
Oh yeah. It's that stimulation for sure. And then meanwhile, Sam has a banana in his mouth and that's like the best day ever.
No, but that's all he needs. We do not need to do anything to Samwise except the banana. I love
They have different levels of education.
They do. Sam,
I love Sam.
Sam is still functioning Sam is ADHD. I'm 100% confirmed that like if dogs can have ADHD, Sam, he's got it big time. But he's just brought so much joy to like me and Dexter that I think he knows that. And so he like feeds off how much joy he provides. So
he's the freaking cutest. My favorite is the banana bit when you give him a banana and he freaks the fuck out. Like it's like something just like turns on in his brain and you see it because he goes into like seal mode where he has no features except his eyes and mouth.
Oh, he like it's because that all started because I was trying to balance I knew he wasn't going to be able to balance a banana on his head, but I was like, Dexter can do a banana. Bananas are silly. And then for whatever reason, he just, he grabbed it because he's a lab. And I think since that moment, he's just like obsessed with bananas. He knows, once again, kind of feeds into that whole, he knows how much joy it brings me. And so he's like, well, if you want me to be a goofy little banana boy, I'll be a goofy little banana boy. So,
banana boy.
Yeah.
Also, something about his lighter colored eyes makes him just seem so like silly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I know the biggest question I feel like most dog owners ask themselves is like, well, should I get a second dog? And I did a lot of like soul searching before I got him. But I think even just day one, I knew just from like the way he looked at me and his personality, how it is so different from Dexter. Mm-hmm. I just think that I can't even imagine my life without Sam or Dexter, but like, I can't even like look back at when it was just me and Dexter, it's like before Sam and after Sam.
What ultimately made you get him?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about a second dog too, because I want to get one, and I've told Galen that I want to get a second dog, but I'm honestly nervous, and I want to hear. Yeah,
it's a great question because I first had to like make sure that I was ready to get a second dog. We all know the puppy stage is hectic and not that much sleep, but my biggest fear was I didn't want Dexter to be weirded out by a second dog. He's, been my best friend for 7 years when I got Sam and traveled all over the country. And I just thought, well, I don't want to wait too much longer until Dexter is a grumpy old man. And so I kind of had to make that decision. Am I going to get a second dog? Like, I need to make it soon. And what ultimately led me to get Sam was I texted the family I got Dexter from. And this was like 6.5 years ago, right? I was living in Dallas, and it was a high school principal that lived kind of out in rural Texas with his family, not like a breeder. He just had 2 labs, and that's where I got Dexter from. And I sent him a text, 6.5 years later, being like, "Hey, I picked up a dog from you. What are the chances you're still having dogs?" Like, just, out on a whim. And he was like, "Oh, we just had a litter. Like, it's not the same mom, it's the same dad, but we just had a litter. Would you be interested?" And to me, that was like a sign. You kind of look for signs and things. And so I thought the fact that the same family I got Dexter from just had another litter, and it's the same dad, so they are actually related. I mean, how could I say no to that? Yeah, brothers. Related. Brother from another mother, literally.
Yeah, oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah. That stud dad was busted for the last 6.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, because I even like
fire.
Oh, for sure. I mean, what a G. And I actually I can talk about this now, but I was a little nervous because I didn't know if the guy knew that Dexter was famous. So I kind of was like, oh man, I don't know if, because he's a small town guy who probably just, as I said, he's a high school principal. I didn't know if he'd be like, "Oh, I don't want you using my dogs to get fame," or I didn't know if he was going to triple or quadruple his price. Cause he's like, "Oh, Dexter's whatever, got all these deals and stuff with food companies." And so I was a little nervous at first, but I don't think he knew about Dexter and all.
You didn't tell him shows. Still?
Nah, because I didn't want. I don't know. I didn't want to risk it.
Yeah. Lumi's breeder doesn't know he's famous.
Oh, really?
No.
Chili's doesn't either.
I mean, I picked Lumi up 3 years ago or whatever, and he's 3.5. Over 3 years ago, I guess. And literally, the breeder just kind of, I don't know. She's like an older woman. She isn't in the social media. She barely even really knew how to text. So I just thought, why would I tell her when it would mean nothing to her? You know what I mean? She literally could give less of a shit. Well, thank you so much, Daragh, for coming on Bark Chat. We loved having you, and can't wait to see what Dexter's Balance is next.
Yeah, love talking to y'all. This was a lot of fun, and it's always great to connect with the dog community and to talk about these kinds of things, because there's a lot behind the scenes, and it's been a fun journey. So
proud of you and your treats. Go check out their page if you're not already following them. That'd be stupid of you.